We're back. Mussar Mondays. Shema, part 3. Okay, so my dear friends, for those of you who are tuning in right now online, we just finished our, our little memorial service here for those who passed away and gleaning some lessons that we can hopefully take home about this tragedy, from this tragedy, and become better people, hopefully better servants of Hashem, better people in our community, and so that we can be a merit to all of those who sadly were impacted by this tragedy. All right, so the first word a child says when they're taught, the Talmud says,
Shema.
Is the Shema.
Shema. It's not mama.
The Talmud says in Sukkah, Tractate Sukkah 42a, as soon as a child is able to speak, he is taught the Shema. The last words that one says when they're about to depart, the last words recited before taking leave of this world is the Shema. We start and end our lives with the Shema. Very interesting. A very interesting teaching of our sages is as follows. The first mitzvah that a person is obligated to when they become bar mitzvah, so my son is going to have his bar mitzvah next week, the first mitzvah he's obligated to is the mitzvah of the Shema. He turns bar mitzvah at nightfall, the night before his birthday, and immediately the first mitzvah you're obligated to at nightfall is reciting the Shema. So he says like this: when it is dark, you need light. Right? This teaches us at first that when one is in a state of darkness, a person must accept God's kingship, even in the darkness and childishness and without seeing God's actions. So here we are, this little child is turning 13, 12 turning to 13. It's dark, he's in a dark stage in his life, so to speak, because he doesn't understand completely how things go. What is the first thing that he does? Recite the Shema. Then eventually, he will come to fulfill it with a wealth of clear understanding, which is like the light of the day. When we have times of darkness, what do we need? Shema. We need light. So that when we have light, right, that we can have understanding. So there's these different steps that we go through in our growth. First, from darkness to light, and then from light to understanding. Okay? I want to talk a little bit about the different parts of the Shema. We have 3 different parts of the Shema, right? As mentioned, the first part, what is the first part? Accepting the yoke of God, accepting the burden of God upon ourselves. The second part is about mitzvot. And the third is about remembering the mitzvot, which we do through our tzitzit. And one of those is also remembering the Exodus from Egypt. Sages tell us something very interesting. Why do we have the first paragraph, then the second paragraph, and the third? Maybe do 3-2-1 or 3-1-2 or 2-1-3. They have a different order. We have the first, the second, and third exactly in that order. Our sages explain in the Talmud. It says because the first thing you need to do before you get to mitzvahs is you have to know what's the reason for those mitzvahs. The reason for those mitzvahs is because we have a God, a creator of heaven and earth, that we're trying to build a relationship with. If we don't recognize the relationship with God, then where are we? What are we doing mitzvahs for? Right? It means the mitzvah is only after I believe in a system then I can do something in that system. That makes sense. So the first thing we do is we accept the yoke of Hashem. What's the second thing we do? We start talking about the mitzvahs. And then why is the second before the third? Because the mitzvah of the third, the tzitzit, is only obligated during the day. One is not obligated to tzitzit at night. We wear them at night, but we're not obligated to it. But the second paragraph is obligated day and night. So we read that one first. We read that one before we read the last one. Okay. So we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have the exact progression of how it works. Okay. Let's dig into the first paragraph. Does everybody have their sheets?
No.
You don't have your sheets. Uh-oh. Who didn't do their homework? Who did not do their homework? Okay. My problem is that our printer's out, so I'm not going to be able to print new ones today, but hopefully next week I'll have copies for everyone. So, we say the Shema. So the first verse that we say is Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Hear or listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, Hashem is our God, Hashem Echad. Now, we spoke about the whole first verse. We spoke about the Baruch Shem. We spoke about the 248 words. We spoke about the different parts of the first 6 words. We say Shema. What does it mean? Internalizing the message. Yisrael. We're part of a family. We're part of a people. We're part of one unit. Hashem Elokeinu. We spoke about the different attributes of God. One of mercy, one of judgment, one of compassion, one of strength. And in order not to think for a second that we're referring to 2 different gods, we immediately conclude with Hashem Echad. Hashem is one. And when we say the Echad, we elongate each of those letters. Aleph for Hashem is one and only one. Chet, that Hashem controls all 7 of the firmaments of heavens and the one of earth. And then we have Daled, that God controls all 4 directions of the world. There's nothing that's not in God's reach. And then we spoke about the hidden verse that Moses stole from the angels from on high. Okay, so now let's get to the first paragraph, and let's understand it. V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha. Now the real truth is that if we start talking about these 5 verses, we can take each word and spend a year on it. But we'll have to limit it. We'll hopefully finish the first paragraph today, so that we can at least get a whole unit in. But we look at chapter 6, verse number 5 in Deuteronomy, is as follows. Now you shall love Hashem your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. So, think of the following. You're on a date. This girl you really, really love. But she's not so into you. She's not so into you. Tried. So you have a good solution. You take out your gun and put it to her head and say, love me or else. Right? Is that a way to get love? Is that a way to get a person to love you? No. Oh, so what does God do to get us to love Him? He gives us a commandment. What do you mean? V'ahavta Hashem Elokecha. Love Hashem your God. You hear me? What type of commandment is this? What kind of commandment is it that God tells us, love me? You're obligated to love me. This is a commandment to love Hashem. How can you command an emotion? It's like someone tells you, this is the right time to cry. What do you mean the right time? I'll cry when I feel like crying. You know, it's like, don't tell me. It's not Hollywood. We don't act. It's not a whole act, right? An emotion is real. You have to feel it. Love is one of the most deepest emotions. God says, love me. Love me. You love me. So we have to understand what love is. What is real love? Not what Hollywood calls love. Just by the way, they leave off on whatever movies they have this romantic ending. They end and they're walking on the beach and they're skipping together, holding hands, and it's like wow, they lived happily ever after. And you're like, you know what? My marriage is really rotten because we're not skipping on a beach and we're not living happily ever after. Right? They're selling us a bill of goods. They're selling an image of what love is not. Love is hard work. Love is a lot of mistakes. And love is a lot of compassion. And love is a lot of forgiveness. And love is a lot of giving. Endless giving. There's many, many different definitions we can have for love. What is the love? When we talk about the love for Hashem, one of the ways you can see love and you can gain love is when you see how much you have benefited from someone else. Someone else went out of their way and bought you dinner. That's a sign of love. Someone went out of their way to give you a phone call, to give you a visit. Someone went out of their way and cared about you and did something for you. It's a sign of love. The first commandment that we see right here is recognize what Hashem does for you. You cannot enjoy from this world without giving thanks to Hashem. You could live this world without giving thanks to Hashem, but that's not a living. That's an existing. God is telling us here in this first part of the Shema, don't exist. Live. You know how to live. Love. Do you want to live a real life? You want to live like a real person? You know what you have to do? Stop for a second. Look at how much you have. Look at how much you have to be grateful for. You want to love. That's real life. God is telling us, stop what you're doing. See the love that I have for you, God says. God loves us. He gives us everything we have. Do we take the time to love God back? He loves us because He gives us. Anybody who has a child who has special needs knows that the time and the effort that they put into that child makes them love that child so much more. Not that they love their other children less, but because there's so much investment given. There's so much more that they give into that child. The more you give, the more you love. The more you give, the more you love. God gives us so much. Why does He give us so much? You know why? Because He loves us. The minimum that we have to do is stop and appreciate what God does for us. Because the minute we appreciate it, we will be overwhelmed with a feeling of love for Hashem in return. It reciprocates. King Solomon tells us, Kemayim panim el panim. Just like one looks at the water and sees their reflection, you look at a mirror, you see your reflection. When you see from someone else a countenance, when someone else greets you with a smile, with love, they really love you. What do you feel? You feel loved. You want to love them back. When we look and see that God loves us like this, we ought to want to feel that same love. It's not easy. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a commandment. It's difficult. It's tough. But it's something we can attain. So how do we do it? B'chol levavcha, with all your hearts. It could have said libcha. Right? Right? It could with all your heart. Why heart? What are the hearts? Sages tell us that we have two desires in our hearts. The heart, by the way, does not look like this. This is not what the heart looks like. Okay? Anybody who's seen a heart pumping within them, this is not what it looks like. But I think this is a good analogy because we have two parts to it. There are two parts to this. Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Ra. Sages tell us that when the Yetzer Hara tries to get you, use your Yetzer Tov, use your good inclination to overcome him, to fight him, to battle him. You have a desire to do something that you shouldn't be doing. You have an urge to do something that you shouldn't be doing. To go someplace you shouldn't go. To see something you shouldn't see. You know what you got to do? Take your other half, take your better half, your Yetzer Tov, put him on top of him. Tell him to go fight with him. Beat him up. And there are ways to do it. There are ways to trap your Yetzer Hara. Say he's locked up. But we have these two hearts. One that desires good and one that desires no good. You know what? Getting our Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Ra together to serve Hashem. That's b'chol levavcha, with all your hearts. With both of your inclinations, your good and negative. Your good and not so good inclinations. Uv'chol nafshecha, with all your soul. Uv'chol mo'adecha. What is with all your soul? With all your soul. Literally. Guess what? These Jews in Pittsburgh, they served Hashem with all their soul. Why was their soul taken? One reason. One reason. And I know why? Because they're Jewish. That's the only reason. They were taken because those are holy people. That's what we call to die al kiddush Hashem, to die for the sake of the holiness of Hashem. We're not ready to run away from our Judaism. We're not ready to give up on our Judaism. We're going to go to synagogue and we're going to pray and we're going to be involved and we're going to be engaged and we're going to hopefully, after what we discussed earlier tonight, we will engage our next generation in synagogue and bring them to synagogue so that they can also be engaged in the process of learning and growing. But giving up your soul for God, there are three cardinal sins that our sages tell us. Be willing to give up your soul for these. Anybody know what they are? Murder. Avodah Zarah, which is idolatry. Immoral acts. These three things, a person should be ready to give up his life. If someone says, hey, bow down to my idol, or I put a bullet in your head, you say, I don't bow down to anybody. Only to Hashem. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. I don't bow down to idols. Be willing to give up your life not to serve idolatry.
That means other religions too.
Absolutely. Other religions too. Right? If they say bow down or kiss this cross or something like that, take my life. I'm not going to do that. Well, for the sake of peace, no. That's a non-negotiable. No, we're not willing to give it up for anything. There's no compromise there.
But isn't there a psalm where David says that if I die, how could I pray to Hashem? Isn't there one of the psalms? So to give up a life, you can't bless Hashem anymore.
That's true, but still, a person cannot be willing to serve an idol under any circumstances.
No, I understand that.
Right? So that's b'chol nafshecha, uv'chol modecha, with all of your might is the general translation, but it's with all your means, with everything you have. Are we ready to serve Hashem with our car? Are we ready to serve Hashem with our clothes? Are we ready to serve Hashem with our money? Are we ready to serve Hashem with our food? Are we ready to serve Hashem with everything that we have? Our possessions? What are we willing to do to sacrifice? What are we willing to sacrifice to serve Hashem? It's a very serious question. You know, I used to have a car that lived totally on a miracle. I would have to go to class out in Sugar Land. And I remember I would see the gas light on. That means I got a refill. And sometimes you know, Baruch Hashem, you know, sometimes we have busy schedules, and we cannot find the time to fill up the gas. You're running from this to that. I was running to a class, and I said, "Uh-oh, this car's not going to make it." I know when I'm out, and I was out. I didn't have enough gas to get there, and it got there. No problem. How did it get there? I was wondering, how did it get it? I said, you know what? Perhaps it's not being fueled by gas. Maybe it's being fueled by a mitzvah. Mitzvah of teaching Torah, hopefully. The mitzvah of doing acts of kindness. You can deliver things on meals on wheels. You can give people a ride, take people to the hospital, take people to a doctor's appointment. Do acts of kindness. That's also something. So what happens now, this isn't just your luxury vehicle. This became a mitzvah vehicle. You've taken your possessions and made your possessions godly. Your clothes. Use it for when you go to synagogue, the nice clothes. When you're going to pray. When you're about to have kiddush, to say kiddush at home. Friday night, Shabbos morning, at your Shabbos table. Special mitzvah to have beautiful clothes for them. You want to wear your fanciest clothes? Wear it. Wear it for a wedding. Wear it for a mitzvah. Use those good things that you have. Use those good things that you have for good. Not for yourself. Not just to indulge your body. To indulge your soul. Be selfless. So that's what it means with all of your abilities. Everything you have, use it to serve Hashem. Story is told about Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, his soul was about to depart his body. He was being tortured by his death, by the time of his death. And his students said to him, "Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling? They're murdering you. Why are you smiling?" He said, "Because my entire life I said this verse in Shema, V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol modecha. You should love Hashem with all of your hearts." He says, "I did that. With all of your might, with all of your capabilities. I did that too. B'chol nafshecha, with all your soul. That I've never done yet. I'm about to do that now. I'm about to give my soul to God for what? For staying loyal to Him. By not cheating. By not double-crossing the Almighty. By not letting go. By doing the right thing. Unbelievable thing. Rabbi Akiva is excited. He's smiling. He says, finally, I can do this mitzvah. To love Hashem with all of my soul. It's an amazing thing. So the next part of this, we said it like this. The first is acceptance of God as a single source of all existence. That's what we said in the first words of Shema Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. In the second verse we say, V'ahavta et Hashem Elokech, you should love Hashem your God. And we discussed the three different tools that we use to love Hashem. Our hearts, our soul, our life, our existence, and all of our capabilities, all of our abilities, bringing them and using them to connect to Hashem, to show our commitment and dedication to Hashem, our love for Hashem. This is referring to the study of Torah. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. God is saying, in the words of Shema, God is saying, I give you, I want you to serve me. How? Right? By learning my commandments. There's a mitzvah. What we're doing today is learning Torah. Learning Torah is a mitzvah in the Torah. It's a commandment that Hashem gives us to never stop studying Torah. And that's a very important part of who we are as a Jewish people. Vishinan tam levanecha, and you shall impress them upon your children. V'dibartabam, and recite them, the words of Torah. B'shivtecha beveitecha, when you're sitting and staying at home. U'v'lechtecha v'derecha, and when you are away, when you're traveling. B'shachvecha uvkumecha, when you lie down and when you get up. What does that mean? Even when you're traveling, bring your headphones. You can listen to a Torah class. Right? When you can watch a video. These are things that one can do when we're traveling. Turn on a Torch podcast or a Torch video. I have people tell me they walk on the bayou, they travel, they're driving, they listen to classes. Right? They're fulfilling a biblical commandment, uvelechtecha v'derech. And when you travel on the way, also then you study Torah. Teaching them to our children, of course. Vishinantam levanecha v'dibartabam. You shall impress them upon your children. Recite them when you're, alright, so we said it, when you're at home, when you're traveling along the way, when you lie down and when you get up. Now we talk about the mitzvah of tefillin. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. It's referring to the mitzvah of tefillin. I'm very proud to announce that we've had, over the past couple of months, 10 or maybe 15 even, students who started to put on tefillin every day. They've gotten to that step of their growth where they wanted to engage with their Judaism on a higher level and committed to putting on tefillin every day. And we get it at a subsidized rate from a great organization in New York called Partners in Torah. We have a program of theirs that we run here, part of Torch. But they have a special program to assist people who want to put on tefillin, have the ability to put on tefillin. So if anybody wants to do that, whether you're online or whether you're here in person, I will happily help you with that. But the mitzvah of tefillin, very interestingly, is how many days of the year are there that one could put on tefillin? The Ben Ish Chai says that there are 301 days. You take the 52 days that are Shabbos, and you take the average year has, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, 1 day of Yom Kippur, 6 days of Sukkot with Shmini Atzeret. You have Shabbat anyway in there mixed in. Let's say you have 2 Shabbatot. You have Pesach, and you have Shavuot. You have Rosh Hashanah, Shavuot. On these days, on Shabbos and Yom Tov, you don't put on tefillin.
What about Pesach Sheni?
Pesach Sheni you do. Right? So you have a total of 301 days that you put on tefillin in a year. What's the numerical value of fire? Eish, Aleph Shin, 301. Sages tell us, as the Ben Ish Chai, if you want to be protected from the fire of Gehenna, you want to be protected from the fire of possible purgatory, none of you are deserving of it, God forbid, right? It's just, your lowly rabbi who is not fulfilling his abilities, what he's capable of. He's going to be punished. Referring to myself, obviously, right? Not to your synagogue rabbis. They're good people, right? But you have, right, a person who does not fulfill their purpose. So they have a fire that they have to face. But if you wore tefillin every day, those 301 days that you wore the tefillin protect you from the fire, which is 301 as well. It protects you. And you shall inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. That's the mitzvah of mezuzah. So I know that you all know. We're just going to repeat it in case there are people outside who do not know this. And that is that there's a mitzvah not only to put mezuzah on the doors of the outside of our home, but also the inside doors. So the inside to the room going from your living room to your dining room to the kitchen, or your living room to the kitchen. Every room, unless it's going to a restroom, a powder room, or a room that's too small, like a little a utility room, or any type of room that's not meant for us, little closet. So those don't need a mezuzah, right? So in every part of our house, to constantly have that recognition, that remembrance of Hashem in front of us, right? That's a mitzvah to constantly have consciousness. So look at this for a second. What is the first thing we say? Love Hashem. It's got to come from inside. You got to connect inside. How do you get there? Number one, I have a mitzvah to study and teach Torah, right? Your children, right? That's also including your children. When you travel, when you walk, when you go to sleep, when you wake up. That's one first level of consciousness. You got to study, you got to learn. Second level of consciousness here is you have to physically get involved in your faith. How do you physically get involved in your faith? What do people do for reminders? Right? They tie a ribbon on their hand to remember, I gotta return this product. I gotta change the tire. So they tie a string so they don't forget. What's our string to remind us to thank Hashem, to talk to God? Our tefillin. We tie it on ourselves so we don't forget. We don't forget to think about Hashem. Put a tefillin on our head. All of these, that's on our body. That's inside of ourselves. What's about our homes? So we have mezuzah on the doorpost to remind us to bring God with us there too. We don't say, you know what? The doorpost, it's not that important. Come on. It's my house. I just go home to sleep and eat anyway. What godliness is there? Well, if we're trying to get into a frame of mind of consciousness with God, that's part of what we have to do. Is not only through our actions, not only from our heart, we have to talk about it. When we walk in the streets, we have to talk about Torah. When we go lay down, we got to talk about Torah. When we wake up in the morning, we got to talk about Torah. We got to surround ourselves with that connection. And then what do we use as a sign? We bind it on our arms. We bind it on our arms and on our head. And then it's still not enough. Every time you walk inside and out of that door, stop for a second and recognize Hashem is here too. Hashem is right here to be here with us. Hashem is protecting us wherever we go. So we're running over time here, but I want to thank you all for coming today. God willing, next week we're going to continue with the second paragraph of the Shema and looking into its insights. If anybody does not have these sheets over here in the classroom, I will happily print them out for you as soon as we get in the toner, or I can email it to you. If you would like, you can email me and I will happily reply with that document. Also to our friends online, my email is Mussar, M-U-S-S-A-R, at torchweb.org. Mussar at torchweb.org, and I'll happily send you these documents so that you can continue to advance your connection with Hashem through the saying of the recitation of the Shema. With that, my friends, thank you so much for joining us. Have a terrific evening, and don't forget to drive safely. We look forward to seeing you here tomorrow night, and the night after, and the night after, and every single day of the week when we're always having a blast here at the Torch Center learning Torah. Thank you, my dear friends. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.